Believe it or not, I am an introvert. Conferences in particular, especially these big annual conferences, are so draining for me. So I want to teach you the techniques that I use not only to survive these conferences, but also to have the best experience I possibly can. First, before the conference happens, you should receive either a digital or a print version of the schedule. And this will include a list of the names of all of the presenters, all of the discussants and chairs. Make sure you comb through this list closely to see who is attending the conference, who you might want to meet in for a coffee or for lunch or for dinner. Well in advance, decide who you'd like to reach out to and then reach out to them. I like to try to send emails as far in advance as I possibly can, because that way chances are not only will they be free for a lunch or a coffee or maybe a dinner, but chances are is that it'll be possible to make this just a one-on-one affair. If you wait too long and you write and you say, hey, would you like to get lunch on Thursday? I see you're coming to the conference. They might write back and say, oh, well, yeah, I'd love to meet up with you. I'm already meeting with like 5 other people. Why don't you come along? And then suddenly you find yourself at one of these battery draining kind of chaotic conversations that are fun and you meet new people, but for introverts really deplete the battery. I would much rather connect with someone just one-on-one for a really in-depth, intimate lunch or dinner rather than have 32-second conversations with a big cacophonous group. So do your preparation because it will repay in the end. Second, choose restaurants for these lunches and dinners that are farther away from the conference hall. So this too requires a little bit of research, but it's kind of fun research. You can post on Twitter or Facebook and say, hey, there's a conference in San Diego or Chicago or wherever it is, and I don't want to eat in the lobby restaurant. Any suggestions? And people will say, oh, you got to try this out or try that out, try that out. And it's like, great, look into it, see if any of these things seem appropriate. You don't want anything too far away from the conference hotel, but far enough away that it's not just going to be a sea of people wearing the conference badges, and then you're going to have all of these impromptu conversations on the way to the bathroom, instead of the conversation you want to be having with whoever you're having dinner with or whoever you're having lunch with. So again, a little bit of preparation goes a long way. Now you can combine the other preparation I mentioned, where you find out who's coming and you reach out to them well in advance, and this restaurant preparation, and then you have something really nice to offer. You say, hey, would you like to get dinner on the Saturday night of the conference? Yeah, I have this, I know of this really great place that's a little bit, we have to take a taxi to get there, but I think it's going to be well worth our while. And then suddenly it's a little bit fun for the other person as well, because deep down inside, many of us are introverts, and many of us do not want to be in that restaurant where it's just all members of the same conference that we're at. Third, here's one of my favorite tips, but I realize it's a little bit of a specialty tip. And this is, if you can afford it, whether your research funds will allow you to do this, or if you do need to pay out of pocket, whether or not you do want to pay out of pocket for this, is to try to arrive at the conference one day in advance and conspire to do so with a friend who is going to be attending the conference as well. There is a friend that I have in my professional world, and we had this tradition that ran for a few years where we would arrive at the annual conference in our field on Wednesday instead of Thursday. Now, many people actually do arrive on Wednesday. These are people who are part of journals or on editorial boards or, high-ranking members of this or that association. Oftentimes, people do arrive on the day before everyone else does, because that's when their board meetings are, when their editorial meetings are. So it's not unheard of. So that's why it's often possible to charge your research account for such a thing. If you arrived, I don't know, a month in advance, then no one would buy that. But you don't want to just do it by yourself necessarily, unless you're going to like Hawaii or somewhere really beautiful and you do want to just have a day to yourself just to do everything outside of the hotel as much as possible. But let's say it's not really a destination wedding. What you can do is reach out in advance to a long-standing friend or someone you really like, who you know is coming because you read the conference bulletin. Reach out to them and be like, why don't we get there a day in advance? And then, go to a museum or have a really nice dinner or do something. And it's a really great way to set your mind and kind of sink into getting ready for the conference before the conference hotel is just swarming with colleagues, where the lobby is just one long, hey, hey, how's it going? Oh, hey, oh, like all of these microsecond hey ho hos that deplete your battery. Before the lobby is just chaos like that. It's really wonderful to get there on the day before, and the lobby is just full of, I don't know, whoever the last conference was. It's like people you don't know, and so you and your friend can go there, maybe your family, if you bring your family along and, that have that day in advance. It's really just you, and there's no chance of these awkward hallway half conversations. And then when Thursday or Friday or whatever day one or day two of your conference really does start, you are, you've had a good time. You're a little bit at peace, and then you're ready for the wheeling and dealing lobby, hey, ooh, hey stuff that is just so draining for the introverts of the world. So if you can, consider arriving a day early and have some fun before the show starts. Fourth, take a nap. Doesn't necessarily have to be a complete nap, but what I'm pointing out here is that if the conference is in the hotel and if you are sleeping in that same hotel, then it's really just an elevator ride away to just recompose yourself. You can just go up to your room, take off your shoes, watch 30 minutes of a pay-per-view movie, just kind of go back to normal life, however normal it is to watch pay-per-view on an afternoon in a hotel. But you get my point, like not wheeling and dealing and talking to colleagues and asking Q&A things and so forth, but just going back to a hotel room and disconnecting. And I tell you, 15 minutes, 30 minutes of a reset like that is immense, especially if you can do maybe one or two of them. So always remember that if the conference hotel is the same place where you're staying, you should take advantage of that and not, leave the hotel at 7 in the morning or 8 in the morning and then not come back until 9 at night. It's like, why do that to yourself when you have this little respite, this little haven, just an elevator ride away? Fifth, hold court in the lobby bar. Okay, I'm not going to make any mystery of it. I really like a good drink. I really like a good cocktail. Manhattans are my drink of choice. Bourbon and sweet vermouth and a dash of bitters, but also martini will do the trick. And what I like to do, if possible, sometimes this just happens by itself and sometimes I try to engineer it, is rather than have 5 drinks, you meet someone and say, let's get a drink later tonight. Oh yeah, okay, let's get a drink later tonight. Oh, okay. Rather than literally go from like seat to seat to seat to seat and order a new drink every single time, it is way better to get to the lobby bar, which is often just kind of in the lobby itself. Get there slightly in advance, get a nice 3-4 person table that's very conspicuous where people can see you. Order your drink before anyone gets there, and then make that your home base. So when your next drink buddy arrives, they'll see you, they'll come on over, and chances are someone else might still be there, and that's just fine, because then it takes the pressure off of you. They get to know each other if they've never met, maybe they are friends, and then suddenly you're in this delightful 3-person conversation, 4-person conversation. Maybe someone then heads off to dinner, but then you're with your next drink appointment, that kind of thing. And you get to just kind of hold court, be stable in one place, have your appetizers, have your drinks, and just let people come to you rather than chasing around the bar, trying to find seats, waiting for a seat to open up, all of that annoying, frustrating stuff, and just be stable and peaceful. And it'll help because I guarantee that if you just kind of stick in one place and relax and let people come to you, you're gonna drink less because you're not gonna order a new drink every time. You're just gonna be more relaxed. And again, because there will, chances are some of these meetings will overlap, you won't have to be the one that is constantly talking in just a 2-person conversation. You can let other people, keep up the buoyancy of a conversation while you sit back and sip your drink and just take it in and enjoy it. So if you can, get to the hotel lobby a little bit earlier, stake a good table that's in conspicuous view, order a drink, and let your kind of drink buddies come to you. That's a little insider tip. Sorry to anyone who realizes now that that's what I was doing to you, but I did it for good reason. I'm an introvert. This stuff drains me like all get out. Sixth, balance new acquaintances and old friends. Conferences are great places to meet people you went to grad school with, people you worked with, collaborators that you may have never met in person, but you've emailed a billion times. They are wonderful for that. And those kinds of friends and those kinds of contacts really recharge you. I mean, it's not as if for an introvert, everybody depletes them equally in the same way. I mean, there are people that are so close to you and such good friends that somehow just being around them recharges your battery the way that it does for extroverts. But you want to remember that, you're not going away from your family for 4 days and paying out of your research funds like thousands of dollars just to like catch up with grad school buddies. This has to serve a professional purpose of broadening your network. You want to meet new editors and new scholars and new grad students and new other people. But all of those meetings, at least from the perspective of an introvert, no matter how exciting those meetings are, and in fact, the more exciting they are, the more draining they are to the battery. And so try to find a balance between new people you want to meet. So when you read the conference, schedule and you figure out who are you going to try to reach out to in advance, or who impromptu you're going to see and maybe ask to get a drink or a coffee. Keep a tally in your mind. You're like, basically everyone I've just, reached out to are totally new people. What's that going to feel like by the end of the first 2 days? Like maybe I should try to connect with my old buddy or my old, grad school roommate. Because then that will feed my battery and keep me on. So just try to strike a balance between completely new people who you should try to meet and then old friends who you definitely want to reconnect with, but you can't just spend the entire conference hanging out with old buddies. You've got to grow as well. Make sure to keep track of your intake of coffee, alcohol, and pub food, bar pub foods of burgers and fried things and appetizers and calamari and french fries and things of this nature. In conditions of stress, I don't know the science of it, but I know the science of it inside is that, when you travel, when you're stressed and when you haven't had a lot of sleep, you want fried foods and comfort foods and you want a beer. There's something about that just makes things right. I'm always in awe of people who travel halfway around the world and somehow manage to have like brown rice and edamame as their lunch. I'm like, I want like a 3-egg omelet with Canadian bacon on the side, and I literally just ate an hour ago. But I'm so stressed I want comfort food. Well, that stuff adds up. So chances are you're going to have a little snack with every single meeting you have. You're going to order another cup of coffee with every single person you meet. You're going to have multiple drinks. And you can get to the end of 2 days and 3 days, and it's kind of a blur, but then suddenly it catches up to you and you feel like shit. And then what happens? You get on a plane and then you go home and boom, life is right there and you don't have time to recover. You've just got to step back into it. So I'm not saying eat brown rice and edamame, because let's be realistic here, but don't order 1 burger, 1 fried chicken and 9 cups of coffee and 4 drinks in a row. Just don't do it. Keep some tally of yourself. Your future body is going to thank you, and so will your colleagues back home and your family when you arrive intact, let's say. Okay, well, that's all I have for you. If you are an introvert, I'd love to hear what your strategies are for navigating this. Please leave a comment in the comments field below. If you got something out of this video, give it a like. And as always, please consider subscribing. It means a lot to me. I will see you in the next video. See ya.